what do you know, man? What's going on? What do you know about UNLV as far as this quarterback scenario? The running back was a fourth stringer. I know he already transferred from NC State, and I heard some interesting things about him. And people that I know are like, man, I wish Odom wouldn't even have took that running back because he did NC State the same way during a rivalry week last year when they were about to play Duke, and then they were supposed to get ready on rivalry week. They got their ass whipped against Duke, getting ready for North Carolina, their rival, and he quit and jumped out and right in the middle of a rivalry week. So people are saying, well, Barry should have known that and wouldn't even have took him from the jump. But he's a fourth-string running back, apparently. He's talking about touches, so we're not even worried about him. The quarterback's the big news. And then you got Barry Alexander, a guy that left Georgia who was a five-star, who USC gave basically a penthouse on Wilshire Boulevard overlooking fucking Westwood to. Where are you at with all this in totality, and then specifically what's going on there in Vegas?
I think Sluka set off a firestorm. Like, I think this is going to be the new norm, unfortunately. I mean, guys that have, a redshirt year available get to that fourth game, and if they don't get what they want, then bounce. And it's a bitch move to me. Like, I'll be honest with you. Do something like that. Like, you're dogging out your teammates, man. You're letting them down. And I'm from the old school, man. You just thug it out. At the end of the day, thug it out. Like with Sluka's case, what I know is I got a call on Tuesday afternoon. I'm having lunch with my business partners, and I get a call, and it's like, what happened with Sluka? And I'm like, what? So I start, doing my normal thing, and someone calls me and says, yo, he went into Odom's office and essentially asked for $300. Said, my new estimated value is $300,000, and I need that to stay. Now the cool part is this: his agent is Marcus Cromartie, who is Antonio Cromartie's brother.
Okay. I know. I coached.
So I say that with this: Marcus is not licensed in the state of Nevada to be an agent. So if you go to Sluka's Twitter account, he's been with Elite, whatever it's called, since January 22nd, 2024. So why all of a sudden in August is Cromartie reaching out to the NIL Foundation? The NIL Foundation and they told him, you can't do anything. You're not licensed to negotiate any deals.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They sent him the paperwork to fill out to get licensed. He never did. Like this is like, I got all this. I was at Barry's show last night, and then all the details start coming out with everything. And Barry had no idea that this was going on. He did not authorize $100,000 like the kid says. And if they're not negotiating the deal right, how do you know it's $100,000?
That's what I'm saying.
Doing on radio yesterday, I'm talking about, it's 100. How did you know this if you're not negotiating the deal? So you're telling on yourself now. So then the school got involved. The school said yesterday that basically.
So who gets involved? Compliance?
Compliance got involved. Yeah, compliance was involved yesterday. With everything. They have a blueprint. It's called Blueprint. They have a bunch of schools under their umbrella. They handle all the NIL stuff for a bunch of schools, like Utah is one of them, Penn State, whatever, Arizona, and they're the ones that kind of handled everything. They're the ones that they're supposed to handle everything. So he dropped a bunch of names as far as like coaches that are assistant coach that allegedly said it'll be $100K.
Right.
The name that he dropped, I know he does his name. He purposely keeps his name out of things.
Right.
Be a head coach. So there's just a lot of things that don't add up. And when it comes back to it, all of a sudden you're doing PR in the morning, which your brother is on every show. Your dad's calling all national media to get on some type of going to do a PR blitz. But the school, and then people at the NIL and everybody else, everything I've been told dating back to Tuesday afternoon, going through everything lines up just the same. Everybody's saying the same thing. So I don't necessarily believe what Sluka's talking about or Sluka's people are talking about. And to be clear, like I met Sluka back in January, February. He's a good dude. Like the guy seemed like a real good dude. Didn't seem like this was even an issue. But from my understanding, the players told me and coaches that told me the last couple of weeks he started distancing himself from all the players, all the coaches. And the guy that's taking over for him he was a leader in the locker room. He's been there since January. He's got a big voice in the locker room, and the players. I mean, every captain spoke up and said, "We're in better hands with Haj Malik Williams as the starting quarterback."
Ooh,
damn! Read that, Smitty, real quick for the audio side. Bailey, pull that back up. This is a UNLV athletic statement, Joe. I'm sure you've read it, but Smitty, read it for the audio side.
Football player Matthew Sluka's representative made financial demands upon the university and its NIL collective in order to continue playing. UNLV Athletics interpreted these demands as a violation of the NCAA pay-for-play rules as well as Nevada state law. UNLV does not engage in such activity, nor does it respond to implied threats. UNLV has honored all previously agreed upon scholarships for Matthew Sluka. UNLV has conducted its due diligence and will continue to operate its programs within the framework of NCAA rules and regulations as well as Nevada state laws.
As well as Nevada state laws is the key there because, as Joe just said, Cromartie coming in there as a street agent basically is what he is. He's basically coming in as a handler, whatever you want to call it, a street agent. And the bottom line is UNLV in the state of Nevada saying you can't even operate here. We can't even talk to you. It's like going to court. And you know, and some dude in the crowd stands up and says, "I'm going to represent JB." You can't. Get the fuck out. Like this shit it just smells dirty. I've been saying it. I think this kid is distancing himself, as you said, and I didn't even need to hear that to know that because I'm like, dude. I told Smitty earlier, I'm like, this doesn't add up. This kid is trying to get out of there for some whatever reason. He either realizes he's not that good. He's a 44% completion percentage kid. It's not like he's Tom fucking Brady. And now all of a sudden they beat KU because of the structure and Barry Odom's system, in my opinion, and what they're building there in Vegas, not because of this kid. This kid is a Holy Cross fucking prep school kid with no offers. Like, come on, man. We're acting like this dude was a 5-star. Explain this real quick, Joe, and I know Smitty had a question. UNLV has a bad, I think, misconception. And I've known this for a long time. I've had many people I've known tight that coached there for a long time, and it's hard to win there, right? Since John Robinson was there with my former player Nate Turner and Jason Thomas at quarterback, and they had Rudolph at back, and they had some dudes at that time. They beat Arkansas actually in the Vegas Bowl. I was there for on the sideline. Why do people think Vegas is paying some crazy amount of money for NIL deals? They don't. They can't. They're using casino money, which is they may have more money than anybody, but they don't have oil money, which is actually legal ways to pay per the NCAA, but casino money is not. That's what people don't understand. Casino and NCAA doesn't mesh. And there's where are you going to get this money from in Vegas? Most people are tourists who live in LA, live in New York, live somewhere. They have a place in Vegas. They have an LLC or some business operation in Vegas because of the tax laws and all those things. People don't really want to dive into all that, but that's the bottom line. There's not a true, real Vegas per se, like homegrown collective. Everyone's from LA, New York, Chicago. They started back in the mob days. Nobody just was born there and raised there and billionaire. They're all shopped in. That's why there's just not 25 stars in Las Vegas every year, or there would be. This isn't the Larry Johnson and Tarkanian era. Like, I wish it was because it was under the table then. But now,
yeah.
I don't know. Explain that, can you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like, first of all, you brought up, bringing up Larry Johnson and Tark and even Stacey Augman, Pasadena boy, everybody. You look at that group. These kids nowadays don't give a fuck because they weren't alive then. They don't even, some of them don't even know who Larry Johnson is. They see Tark's statue outside Thomas and Mack. They're like, who's this guy? Like, literally, you've had to have conversations. And this is even with basketball players. So like that's how crazy it is for us. That's our heyday. I mean, Jay, growing up I grew up in Southern California. I grew up in the IE, right? Every Wednesday and Saturday, we had West Coast basketball on KCAL Channel 9. And we were watching UNLV basketball. So we grew up watching those UNLV teams. At least I did. And it's like, I rock with them. I fuck with them. Tark's that guy, But the biggest misconception is the fact that UNLV hasn't any type of NIL deal or they have any type of funding. They don't have casino money doing anything for them.
I know.
That's the problem. Like,
there's no way they take hands with the NCAA. There's no way.
Well, I mean, but even at that, let's look at it from the business standpoint for the casino. What's the return on investment giving UNLV athletics any money whatsoever? It's not like they're driving everybody to the games on a Saturday to watch UNLV football. Maybe now with Barry there, Barry provided proof of concept for everybody. You can win in Vegas if you do it the right way. And I was listening to you earlier, and you hit the nail on the head. Barry's the most genuine, authentic coach I've ever met since I've been
transparent, right? He's transparent. I'm sure he tells you exactly like, oh, hey man, don't ask me this, ask me this. Like that motherfucker's gonna tell you beforehand, right?
Yeah, he'll be like, hey Joe, like, hey, we're not gonna talk about this, but if you ask it this way, I can maybe answer it a different way.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, cool, then we'll have that conversation. But but the thing is they're not getting that money, so everybody thinks UNLV, oh, they have this, they're gonna get this casino money or they have this money. No, there's about 12 families in this city that really run everything, and this city is a lot like the way to this day, just to a little more quiet. There's like the 12 families that really run, they approve everything that goes on, and with them in their mind. And I've talked to a couple of people with them. I was in a meeting late last night with a group of them. They're pissed at the athletic department because they feel like the only time they get called is when when the athletic department needs some type of money. And I don't know if you guys heard, like UNLV and Air Force agreed to stay in the Mountain West, and they're getting a one-time payment to stay between $20 and $35 million to stay in the Mountain West. They're not going to the Pac-12. So from my,
you know this guy, and I know him well. He's a good friend of mine, and Pat Perez's. He's the biggest collective in Vegas. He's the biggest money maker there is. I'm not gonna say no names. He is a big time multi billionaire, and I hang out with him quite often. And he's like, dude, I can give all the money I want, but the bottom line is it doesn't necessarily mean it goes to X, Y, or Z. And that he said the same thing. They're very skeptical on how the athletic department operates with money coming in from outside sources, because the athletic department, they built those new facilities, but let's be honest, they're not Oregon. You built them on top of a little turf field there off the street, in the back of the fucking neighborhood. It's not like it's just, on the strip. You think about it, the stadium they had forever. At least now you're in you're in the Raider stadium. Back in the day, you had to go down in the hood and down there and play.
You're literally in the neighborhood. Yeah, in
the neighborhood. That's what a Vegas Bowl was. I actually liked it better because it's its own thing. But at the same time, it's not like you're going into Ohio State or Madison, Wisconsin, where it's a college town. Nobody gives a fuck about Vegas. Nobody cares about San Diego State. Nobody cares about USC and UCLA and LA. They're not football towns. They're too much other shit to go on. There's other shit. Like, I'll go to the casino if UNLV's shitty this year. I'll go to the Big Three when it comes to town. Like, they don't give a fuck. There's too much to do. LA's the same way. It's not like the Midwest, man. It's not Indiana. It's not Ohio. It's not Pennsylvania, where everyone's there sold out on their team no matter what. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. And the thing is with the money, so when the Fertitta complex got built, Tony Sanchez was very direct to where every penny of that goes. This is the thing about Tony. He fundraised every penny of that complex himself. No help from the athletic department. He went and banged down doors. This is your head football coach doing that in a Division I program. But
he was a home, Northern Cali guy, but he had them roots, them Dana White roots, them roots when he was at Bishop, right?
Yep.
So he was a high school coach, yeah.
Yeah, but then see, and the athletic director at that time, Tina Kunzer Murphy, she went out. She was also very instrumental. One, hiring Tony. Two, helping him, maybe getting him in some doors that he may not have been able to get into. The next AD that comes in, Desiree Reed Francois, she went to the Pac-12 and Big 12 and said, what do we need to do as a university to get our athletic programs in there? She made sure that the school checked those boxes. All Eric Harper has to do, the current athletic director, is get him over the finish line. And he was unable to do that now. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to take it. I know it's a $25, $35 million payment to stay in the Mountain West, but who are you going to play in there? I mean, it's you, Air Force, San Jose State, Wyoming, New Mexico, Hawaii, Reno, and then when you bring in
San Jose leaving.
I don't think San Jose State leaves. I think they stay. I think the Pac-12 is going to pivot to maybe try to bring in Sacramento State or somebody like that. I don't think San Jose. All 7 schools that are currently in the Mountain West are going to sign the momentum of whatever the MOU, the basically saying they're going to stay after school. That's going to happen this morning.
Got you.
So all this is happening. It's crazy.
Let me ask you this: like earlier, you mentioned that with all this going on with these players, red shirting because of money, not playing, etc. You said that you believe like this is going to be what it is. Like how bad do you see this thing going? Like a year from now, you come on this show, we're talking about this. Like how far do you think this thing like gets to? I mean, does it get to a point where guys are? We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Guys on like Georgia, some of the premier top clubs are in the playoffs, right? And now they're sitting out like, hey, you better give me $1 billion bonus or I'm not playing in this national championship game. Like, do you see it get to that point?
I don't think so, because what they're going to use, the players are going to use as leverage is their 4 games to redshirt. So if a kid played 4 games and is getting to the natty, they're going to be like, they're not going to sit out that. But if it's 3 games and you want to try to strong arm them, there might be somebody that tries it. I mean, when this happened, a coach on the staff called me and said, this is going to be the new norm. That he's the first, but watch the next 2 weeks and how many guys are going to end up doing this.
Hey, I sent Smitty a text yesterday morning after the show ended and the Sluka news broke and all that. And I sent a text to him from a buddy of mine that's in the NFL and said, Bear Alexander's going to do the same thing in the next hour. And sure enough, that motherfucker popped and he was like, damn. And I was like, here it comes. Because these cats already know. These cats already know because the NFL GMs and scouting departments already are on top of it for evaluation purposes. Am I going to recruit or am I going to draft or even bring this kid into a pro day? Bear Alexander, Sluka, probably not now. Think about it. Like, is that going to start harming these kids? And that is why I question their circles. Mm-hmm. These fucking circles are a bunch of street agent idiots who are setting these kids up for further failure more than they already are. Just play the year out, dog, and at least show you have a little bit of fucking dignity and integrity. Like, I don't know, man. I've never seen it like this.
How disrespectful is it to the game, though? I mean, we all play ball. Like, I started playing ball because I just love football. You know what I mean? I know you guys. It's the same with you guys, I would assume.
Why people look over that, I don't have an idea. Everyone just comes back to JB, if you got promised this money, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, there's no contract in place. And stop miss me with the verbal shit. You know how many homie verbal fucking deals we have heard in our lives? Come on, dog. Hey, dog, get you your $20.
Right.
Like, dog, miss me with this verbal shit. Show me on paper or shut the fuck up and go honor your fucking commitment.
Hey, homie, I'm gonna see no cigars tomorrow. We heard that 1,000 times. Coach Fred,
I had another coach text me or call me yesterday. I was on my way to the school to get some content, and he said, "This reminds me of the dope game. Like if you're on the block, the guy comes in with the price, and you pay him the price. All of a sudden, he comes and tries to raise him. He gonna tell him to kick rocks, get the fuck out of here." So, I mean, for me, like I do think this opens up a big can of worms going forward. Like I wasn't surprised with Barry because I did see something where his dad was trying to show, the defense, this is what happens when you get washed or whatever. And it's his own kid trying to put blame on other players. And somebody went in and just started just lambasting him, saying, bro, look, he did this. That's why this gap opened up. He did this. And just stick to coaching DBs. Like, don't even talk about your son at this point. So, I mean, but this also shows guys in the NFL and other colleges who loves the game, who's serious about the game, and who you want to have on your team. Now, I personally think when it comes to Sluka, just him in this case, I think he just got bad advice from a bad person. I mean, I don't know. I met Cromartie one time, but I think he's got bad advice, and he's trying to leverage something that I think is in a bit over his head. But with other players, like I think, didn't you guys say it yesterday? If the quarterback for Northern Illinois. Like, why did he? If this is the case, why ain't he walking in saying, "Hey, I beat Notre Dame. My value went up."
I said that yesterday. Why isn't he walking in there? Like, shit, I'd be thinking he's a little more worth this guy.
Well, yeah, and he's a 43% passer. I mean, if we're gonna keep it a buck, right? Brendan Marion hasn't been able to really run the offense because his inability to pass. You don't see a lot of orbit motions. You don't see them. And you have this is their thing. You got an all-American receiver in Ricky White. Came back the leading receiver in the nation with over 1,400 yards coming back last year. And you're not able to get him the ball. Like through 3 games, like I think he has 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, but it's less than 200 yards receiving. Like this is a guy that is an NFL caliber wide receiver, and you're not getting him the ball. You have another All-American. He's a kick returner, but he's your slot receiver with Jacob DeJesus. You're not getting him the ball. You bring in these receiver from Texas, Kane. You're not able to get him the ball, and he stretches the field. They're like you're become one dimensional.
Let me ask you this: when does Barry Odom go into this kid and say, "Hey, you threw 3 fucking picks. I want $100,000 back, bitch." I want to know that. I want to know when the fucking coaches start standing on business and saying, "Hey, dog, you fucking lost me the game, motherfucker. Give me my fucking money back." That's what I want to see. Hey, dog, you were fucking around on the strip last night and you stole a bottle of fucking yak. Give me my fucking money back. I don't see the other side, but all I see are these fucking chat clowns who sit there and say, well, it's okay for a coach to leave and take a bigger bag though, huh, coach? Yeah, it is, motherfucker. They're 45 years old, got a whole fucking family to support. And guess what? If you worked at Walmart and Target came and said, hey, dog, here's a $100,000 raise, you're going. So stop comparing a 17-year-old to a 45-year-old that's already been through the fucking thick and the thin. These kids don't even know how to change their oil on their fucking car yet, and you're giving them the car keys to a Lamborghini, and you wonder why we have all these fucking DUIs. Like, I'm trying to figure out how we're putting the pace back in the tube. It's not ever going back. This is Pandora's box has been open. Like, I'm trying to figure out how when we started sitting out bowl games, Smitty and I, when you started opting out of bowl games years ago, I told him last year, I said, I'm telling you right now, the playoffs, you're going to have a motherfucker sit out. You're going to have some cats sit out these fucking 12-team playoff games because I'm telling you right now, the 12-team playoff, you're going to get a 12-seed Liberty who has to play a fucking, I guess the first 4 will get a bye. So they'll play the 5th best team. And let's just say all things real, Notre Dame's the 5th seed and they're undefeated. And I know they're not now, but let's say they're undefeated, but they're not in a conference. So they can't be a 1, 2, 3, or 4. They'll be the 5th seed as an undefeated independent and have to play Liberty at the 12 seed. You don't think these street agents are telling those kids at Liberty, you have no shot to win, dog. Let's get ready for the combine. Let's save your body. Like, that's coming.
It happened to UNLV. It happened to UNLV last year. So this is the first time they were in a bowl in 10 years. And they had a quarterback named Jaden Mayava, who's now the backup at USC. And he had a person starting to represent him. I'm not going to say his name, but he's got a son that's a quarterback that's not playing too well at a school in Florida. And he went to UNLV on 2 different occasions. One occasion he says Jaden needs some money. It was in Jay's ear, you need to take care of your family. Jay's family's in Hawaii and they're not in a very impoverished part of town, right? So hey, you need to make some money. You need to go, you need to take care of your mom. How are you going to take care of your mom? Kid's 19 years old. So Jay doesn't want to leave, but they get him some money. They get him to the $100,000 threshold here at UNLV. He comes back a week later. The Sunday night before they leave, they're leaving like that Tuesday morning to go to New Mexico for the Guaranteed Bowl. Gets on the phone with them and says he needs $300K to stay. They're like, what? Barry's like, well, no. He had the audacity to tell them, if you would have started him last year, you guys would have been in a bowl and you wouldn't be in this situation. They go, we were even on the staff last year. So then the kid is literally telling teammates, I don't want to go. But he's pressuring me. The night Texas and Washington played in the playoff in the Rose Bowl.
Hey, I was in Vegas. I saw you.
Yeah. So that night he turns around and at 9:00 hits the portal. Doesn't tell the coaches, doesn't tell teammates, and then the person who represented him put out a screenshot that he's going, or like a graphic that he's going to the portal, misspells his name. Like there's all like whatever the case, grammar issues. But this is an agency now, right? Agency that's right.
That's the name right.
Says I can get you $300K. Now Jay goes to takes a trip to USC and a trip to Georgia. Supposedly commits to Georgia, but again, use them as leverage to get whatever it is at USC. And I know the dollar amount he got at USC, but let's just say it's nowhere near $300K because Miller Moss wasn't even getting that, and he was a starter. So you got these people, these dudes getting these kids' ear, playing with their emotions, And some of these kids, one, are weak because they had no father figure. They had no coaches that were riding for them and making them men, trying to put them up on a lot of game that they don't have. Two, they're a woman raised them. And look, I was raised by my grandparents and my mother. Thank God for my grandfather. But you have the woman raising you at this point, and now it's like, a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man. And then you turn around and with all the transferring from high schools. I mean, look at what's going on down there with high school football. You got a kid that's at Warren High School, playing 3 games, transferred to Long Beach Poly, doesn't like it there, and transfers to Narbonne or wherever.
Nico did. He transferred to Poly and then back.
Yeah.
And I played. I've known Nico his whole life, and his dad has played with me. But here's a couple of DMs I got, and I'm gonna tell you right now. So I'm gonna read you the DM, and then I'll tell you who it is. What happened? Too many people leaving and lowballing everyone with money. What you mean? NIL deals? That and the collective. Nobody was getting money this year. You not trying to make it to the NFL? I am. That's the goal. You ain't got to leave then. Stay there. He said, he goes, and then he said, it's a lot deeper. I won't have the same people around me either. Now, that is Chandler Rogers, okay? He was a quarterback in North Texas who balled out at North Texas and transferred to Cal for a bag of money and sits the fucking pine at Cal right now, not playing at all and very, very sparingly. And he's a JUCO kid. That is what these kids are telling folks, and to make them feel vindicated. That's how sad it is. These street agents, by the way, when you don't have a father figure in the home, you get a street agent to adopt you at the 7-on-7 level or at the youth football level and coddle you and say, it's okay, Smitty, I'm going to take care of you. And then I'm going to move you around to fucking 7U, 8U, all these different fucking Pop Warner organizations. You've been at 5 of them in 4 years. And then you go to 4 high schools in 4 years from the same fucking street agent because you never had a daddy. You don't have a motherfucking adult in the room telling you that, hey, dog. And the mama, all she can do, God bless her soul, is work 3 jobs and raise 6 other kids and think she's supposed to tell these kids what to do in the football space. But again,
there's a guy, he's at he was coaching at a high school out here and he's now at a college working in recruiting. And this cat worked it out with the school, and this is a school that's in the north side of Las Vegas, so it's in the hood, right? If you played football or basketball, you automatically got a 3.0. You didn't have to go to class. It started at the principal saying this, passing it down to the teachers, and then if they didn't abide by it, then their schedules got twisted. They got moved out of that school. This dude started a recruiting company where he was charging cats $3,500 for fake offers, but he had to have his name on it, and people were paying this money. Now, if you were a 5-star tight end that was going to school there, he did it for free for you, and he goes on your trips with you, and he milked you dry. But he parlayed that into a job at a Power 5 school, a top 3 school in the country, and let these kids high and dry. 90% of these kids that were at that school that had these scholarship offers from them can't bounce back, no longer in school, because they weren't prepared for college. They were prepared to write a paper. They had no idea how to study. They weren't even good. Some of them weren't even good football players at the point because they weren't training.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Fucking
I bet you do.
Oh, I know for a fact. Motherfucker, trust me.
Say his name, JB.
Fucking slapdick. Let me tell you. I don't fuck. He knows he don't fuck. He knows he can't come around my mother.
Say his name there.
No, because Joe said he wants to.
I'm messing with you.
Hey, Joe. Man, I can't thank you enough for hopping out. We got to do it again.
This is great.